Hello everyone. Wait, I think I said that too early, so let me try again. Hello everyone. Welcome to a test episode of Binding of Isaac. Um, Obviously, if you've noticed, there is a me in the bottom right of the screen, although that looks like I'm pointing the opposite direction of where it's at because cameras. So it's actually more like over this way. Gotta get used to that. But anyway, so I'm going to try this out. I'm not sure how this is going to run in terms of performance, in terms of video quality. So I want to try this out, and I figured what better way than with a nice quick Isaac episode. So we're going to jump into the Platinum God save here. I will be back to my Platinum God attempt to regain it file very soon. But I wanted to do this on a file that is completely done so that I'm not too distracted. I might change the region for this camera. It's going to depend on... Actually, that's almost perfectly fit. Let me just edit the scene real quick and drop this down a little bit to the corner there. And there we go. So that's going to be... it's going to block off the item effects a little bit, but it's not really too much in the way. I kind of like it in that corner there. I'm kind of thinking that, if I'm generally trying to do this, like if I'm trying to stream it, then it would be very possible for me to put that up in the top corner and then have, and we get Whore of Babylon, which isn't bad if we can get rid of our red hearts. But yeah, I could put it in the top corner or even down where it is now, and then put the Twitch chat when I'm streaming up at the remaining blank space, because I really don't like how much just dark space there is. But unless I were to get something like a chroma key out behind me, it's not really possible for me to not block off a huge portion of the game and to have this in any other position. So we're going to fight our boss here first things first. It's going to be Larry Jr. This shouldn't be too hard. And this guy gives me trouble though. He's kind of a pain in the neck. And I'm probably going to be distracted a bit looking up at the camera so that I don't look like I'm just ignoring the fact that it's there. Which is probably a silly idea, but hey, I'm new at this, so cut me some slack. I know people are kind of split on whether face cams are actually a worthwhile thing. We do get an HP up, which is of course very good for Judas. And we blow up this tinted rock for the small rock and 2 bombs. I could not have asked for a better boss room. We are going to go up here to this curse room as well, which does locate the secret room, and we will go in here where we find raw liver. This might be like the best starting floor for a Judas run, with the exception of the fact that I'm going to have to get rid of 4 red hearts to get to Whore of Babylon being permanently active. But I'm not going to lie, I'm kind of happy with how that run and how that floor turned out. So, we go to basement 2. But yeah, we might see some variety of this on different things. I know it's kind of a split issue of if people think it's useful or not, and a lot of it, in my opinion, really depends on who is playing the games, which I'm not sure if I'm really expressive enough to where that's going to make much of a difference to you guys. But I figured I would at least try it out, because I know a lot of people do like to see people with face cams when they're playing either for YouTube or streaming. I think streaming it's a little bit more well liked, but it's definitely liked for YouTube as well, so might as well give it a shot. Let's see what our boss is here. We got the Widow. That should be really easy between our Book of Belial and Small Rock. And he is just melting under our tears. And quickly over with that part of the fight. We just need to kill these spiders, kill this nub. And we are going to pick up Squeezy, get 2 spirit hearts. This means if there are 2 2-heart deals, I can go to no red hearts. Demon Baby and Guppy's Tail. Neither of those really interest me right now. So we are actually going to pass out from there without taking anything. I don't know why I ignored that chest on the way in, but this is range down. Not that great of a thing to get. And shoot that poop. Shoot the poop. But yeah, I think this is definitely something I want to try to experiment with, see if I can make it a little bit more viable. But this episode is really to test kind of a proof of concept to see if this is going to run well, which it seems to be so far. At least in Isaac here, I haven't gotten any lag coming up in the game. And the camera seems to be working fine when I take a look over at it. So hopefully that's going to stay that way. We unfortunately have no keys. We just got taken back to the deal with the devil room. That was kind of a waste. With no keys, we have no way to get into the item room. Let's see if the secret room is maybe right here. Good. And 3 cents, not quite as much, not quite what I was hoping for. So looks like we're gonna have to, looks like we're gonna have to miss the item room on this floor, which I'm not a big fan of. Obviously the first floor went phenomenally for us, but that floor, not so much. And we got Squeezy, which was a Tears Up. We got a range down in the way of that pill. And that's about all we got. But we did get a key right away on the cave, so at least we're going to go to the item room on this floor for sure. These guys are not an issue with the damage we're doing. It's always wonderful to get a nice damage upgrade like Small Rock right away when you're playing as Judas. Because he's not the kind of character who really needs as many damage upgrades as others. But there isn't a single character whose starting damage is going to carry him through to late game on its own merits. I mean, you can beat the game through late game with any character with pretty much no upgrades. I know back before Wrath of the Lamb, I definitely beat through Satan as Isaac without getting a single upgrade of any sort, which was a very big challenge, really, but it definitely works. It's just that the damage doesn't scale well. It makes the later parts of the game turn into how long can you go without getting hit instead of it turns into how long can you sustain fire on the enemies before you're hit enough that you die, or before you make it through, instead of kind of a, decently scaling run. And I much prefer runs that scale well, just because I kind of dislike when it turns into that grind of just sitting there looking at the enemies and being like, okay, I'm going to shoot you 500 times and then you're finally going to die. So we did get a range upgrade there, which is not bad. It accounts for the pills that we got. We're going to have decent range again. And we're going to try to kill these things as fast as possible. Turrets can be kind of a pain in the neck. They're definitely one of the hardest enemies to deal with when you're first starting out, just because getting the way that you have to deal with them down takes a little while for a lot of people. I know for me it took a while to learn exactly when to start shooting in order to get them down quick. But once you get them picked up, they're not too bad usually. We don't have a key to access that golden chest. We are going to come in this curse room, because I am a big fan of the curse rooms, if you were not aware. I know a lot of people dislike them, especially if they have spirit hearts. Me, I'm a big fan of them whether I have spirit hearts or not. I think that if you go to enough of them over the course of a run, you are almost guaranteed to get a big enough payout to make it worth it. Not always. That's definitely the case. It's not always where they are useful over the course of a run, but I find that most times the more I go to them, the more I see benefit from them. So I do like to go to as many as possible, because I think that in general they're going to pay out in the long run if you keep going to them. Whether it's in the way of a devil item, or whether it's in the way of a couple of spirit hearts, a couple of pills, something that's going to help you out. They are definitely something that's going to come into play as you do more of them. So we are down to Catacombs Part 2. Since we didn't get a deal with the devil for the last floor, we are going to have increased chance this floor. Obviously, one of the big deals for that is we don't want to take any kind of red heart damage against the boss. So a couple of spirit hearts just as a safety barricade would be helpful. I also want to play around with, recently I heard about something for Isaac called Spider Mod. I'm not sure how many people out there have heard of it. Essentially, it's kind of like Cheat Engine in that it's a way to take advantage of cheats of sorts for the game. But it's a much more thorough thing. It's actually like a mod of the game itself instead of just being old school like Game Shark style codes. So it definitely has abilities that aren't really present on Cheat Engine. For example, there's one code that you can enter that, and there's one thing that you can use where if you press, I think it's F6 is the hotkey, it re-rolls the item in the room whether you have the D6 or not. So, I've done a couple of blindness runs over the time that I've had this channel up and going. And for those, we could use that cheat engine effect, and that spider mod effect, to essentially make it where whatever we got, whether it was a spacebar item or a stat upgrade, we would be able to take it and move on with it. Which of course makes the challenge far more difficult because you aren't just loading yourself up with passives, you're also dealing with potentially crappy. We did not get to deal with the devil. We did get the box, which has some pills for tears down. Not a big fan of that. A devil card, a spirit heart, of course. But yeah, where was I going with that? We are going to pop open this golden chest. I'm feeling lucky. Didn't really pay out like I hoped, but it was at least something. Oh yeah, so we can do blindness runs where instead of only getting passives, we're getting passives and actives that we have to cycle through as they come to us, which is of course a big difference. Of course, the other option is there's a hotkey to just straight up add a random item. So it is possible as well to, instead of re-rolling, to just press F5, get a completely random item, and just roll with that every time that you would pick up every time that you would otherwise get an item, which could as well open up the same kind of interesting possibilities. Now we got Odd Mushroom, which I am not unhappy with at all, because I do like any form of damage upgrade really, especially ones that come with health on the side. We're taking some stupid damage here. It's getting kind of frustrating, but not the worst damage levels I've ever taken. And we want to shoot the TNT, get rid of these guys in a nice little pattern so that they don't ever walk out of their little hidey holes. Did get a little bit of slowdown on that room, but I think that's more so just Isaac than it is having the face cam going. The fact that I'm recording alongside a game that is pretty well known for its non-optimized state, I guess you would say. Obviously for a system like I've got isn't really necessarily going to work out that well, but it's not too laggy at the moment. We're getting a couple little moments of slowdown at times, but nothing that I would go crazy over. We do want to check for the secret room. There are probably two places where it could be. One is here. That is where it is. And there's this fortune teller. We're just going to blow that up right away. We get a heart out of it. Let's go back now to that challenge room. But yeah, so it does open up a lot of possibilities. It also has some things that are just nice from even a vanilla run standpoint. There's speed and range up. I'm a big fan of getting that after having the small rock slowing us down. We might as well pop the Book of Belial as well. We're going to have it charged before we find any more bosses, that's for sure. But yeah, it has a function in there called Teleport to Room, which, obviously, as the name implies, allows you to teleport anywhere on the map of the current floor you're on. That's a big one that I think could be fun for vanilla runs, because essentially you're going to be able to, if you need to backtrack from, like, let's say I had gone to the boss room, I wanted to reroll the item room. Instead of walking all the way from the boss room to the item room, I could click on a menu, pull up Teleport to Room, click on the item room, and jump right there. And it doesn't really affect the gameplay any bit when you're using it that way, but it does give you the chance to... I'm not going to go to the shop since I only have 11 cents. I know it's kind of silly, but yeah, it does give you the chance to kind of cut down on backtracking when used on vanilla runs, which is kind of a nice thing to do. I don't know if that's ever going to become something that I do actually do on these videos, just because I feel like it could be kind of it could be possibly even more boring. I'm going to pop the world card real quick. It could be even more boring watching me pull up a menu, click on the room to teleport, than it is just to watch me walking there. And of course there are situations where, if there are spikes on the path, you might run into somewhere that you would get hurt where you originally wouldn't, where you would completely avoid it by teleporting. So, I guess it does affect the game in some small way, but I don't feel like it affects it in enough of a way to where it couldn't be considered a vanilla run if you just use it to avoid backtracking. So, that's something that might come up, is that mod. The other really nice thing is you can literally set your stats up any way you want. as well as your pill rotations. So if there are any challenge runs based off of, having every shot be a tooth from Tough Love, which obviously requires your luck to be really high, having a really low luck run where you're going for having a ton of chests but not many just straight up consumable drops, with luck being kind of inversely effective in that sense, since the more chests you get, the more consumables drop out of the chests. But, yeah, so there are things like that where we can use them to make some interesting challenge runs that are a little bit more specific than what Cheat Engine would allow for. Holy Water I am not going to pick up. If I ever get a familiar that's going to screw them over, it's not worth a pickup almost ever in my opinion. Unless you're on the chest and you have no familiars and you're pretty confident that you're not going to get one, in which case, yeah, it might come in handy a little bit against Blue Baby. If you kind of run up to him and get hit right away to activate it. But outside of those kind of situations, it's really just something that is going to have a negative impact on your run unless you avoid familiars. And since you don't know if you're going to find any familiars, and out of the ones that there are available, Holy Water is probably the least effective. We are fighting Monstro 2 here. That's good. He is probably the least threatening depths boss you could fight. But unless you run into a situation like that, Holy Water is just something that is almost always going to negatively impact your run. So I do not like to pick it up, that's for sure. So unfortunately we didn't get a good item off of this floor. Hopefully we're going to get a deal with the devil since we took no damage there. We did. We got 6 hearts. We're going to be able to trade at most 4 of them. And it's a fight against Krampus, unfortunately. Now, Lump of Coal in its own right is a good item. Really the only reason that I don't like using Lump of Coal is because I don't like trying to use it properly. I know that sounds really lazy, but obviously it's a really good item if you take the time to back up your shots and attack from a distance where it actually has an effect. But for someone like me who doesn't really enjoy as much trying to, stand back here and fire instead of just getting at the enemies, it doesn't really have all that much of an effect. My head underneath my headset is kind of itchy. I was out in the sun today as usual and having a shaved head. The more that happens, the more my head will get itchy, dry skin type stuff, just because of the fact that it gets sunburned kind of repeatedly throughout the year. The disadvantages of having an outdoor job and having a shaved head. You never would have guessed, would you have? So, let's head over here to the shop up in the top right corner. We do have more than enough money to make it useful. Of course, if I had to guess, we're going to be fighting Greed. Of course, if we do fight Greed, all that really does is confirm to us that the next shop that we go to is going to be not Greed. And that's something I'm willing to live with if we go in here. If we don't go in here for fear that it's Greed, that means that Greed could appear on the next floor, even if he wasn't going to appear here. And it's just silly to take that risk. But I am pretty confident that we're going to be running into Greed. These guys can be kind of a pain in the neck when you don't have any kind of piercing attacks. I just walked over spikes like a doofus. But that's okay. We're fine. And grab that key, come in the shop. There is no Greed in here. But there is the Nun's Habit, / just the habit. But what can I say? That's a bit of vernacular that I'm quite familiar with. So we're going to pick this up so we can go to this challenge room. And in here we find an HP upgrade. That's actually incredibly lucky. You do find those occasionally, but not that often, all things considered. If I was even going to get a second item out of these in a row, I was kind of expecting something along the lines of Skeleton Key or Poison Touch. But I'm not going to complain about finding a free HP upgrade in the challenge room. Much easier to kill one of these rooms, although I hate zombies / knights. Much easier to kill one of those rooms than it is to kill some of the bosses in the game, at least. So I would say well worth the effort. And we're going to stop in here, which is going to be a bunch of flies. This will be a really easy room. I hope I don't take stupid damage. We get a bomb out of it. Whoop, almost walked on the spikes. Let's go to the curse room, and then we'll finally be done with this floor. So down here we have one red chest. It gives us a troll bomb, Thank you, red chest. I appreciate the thought. You're like, you know what this dude needs? He needs some fear in his life. And I'm like, I'm not really afraid of you, Troll Bomb, because I am much, much faster than you. But anyway, we're going to saunter our way down here. I wish I could pick up that key. Unfortunately, I cannot. Pick up this half heart, and down we go to the depths part 2. Which is actually Necropolis part 2, which is very, very unfortunate. I've said many times in these videos that these are some of my least favorite enemies in the game. On the bright side, we do have the kind of damage needed to just one-shot all the flies they spawn, which makes them much easier than they are on some runs when I really complain about them. We are getting a little bit of slowdown in here. Let's just back up so we're doing as much damage as possible with Lump of Coal. And we are going to probably break him, apart on the next hit. And that guy is dead. Can't get that chest. So that room was a waste in literally every sense of the word. Dealing with my least favorite enemies for absolutely no reward. We do have a blood bank in here. Obviously, I am interested in playing that a bit. I could use some more red health dropping on the floor before I really get too crazy with it. Because I don't want this run to come to an end just like overplay a blood bank and don't get the blood bag. We do fight Pride in this room, which means that we aren't going to be fighting Greed in any of the shops we go to this run. Which is actually really a plus if we can find another, like 6 cents or so. What else would be really nice would be to find a, oh god, it's the masks. I hate you, masks. These are my least favorite enemy in the game when I have high damage, because they are annoying whether you've got the damage or not. Those other guys are really just more annoying when you have low damage because you can't kill their spawns quickly. These guys are a pain whether you have low or high damage. And we have another room of these guys because the game heard me talking about how much I love them. We are getting, unfortunately, some more slowdown on this room. Apparently these enemies do not work well with this current recording setup. Oh yeah, it's another thing that I'm interested in trying to pull off when it comes to Spider Mod. One of the features it has in it is actually a item pool modifier. You can modify which items will appear in the speed and range up. Obviously, I'm going to be happy about. You can modify which items appear in the item rooms, and the boss rooms, and the shops, etc. So you can, between that and the function that was already in Cheat Engine, but obviously is carried over, you can actually set it so that you only get original floors, and then you could remove all the Wrath of the Lamb items from the item pools. Essentially, you could recreate Vanilla Isaac by using Spider Mod, if you took the time to set it up properly. Obviously, you would still have some things that you aren't going to see in Vanilla Isaac that are, new pills that have been added or stuff like that. But you could essentially make it so you don't get any items outside of the ones that were found in Vanilla Isaac, which I actually find some interest in. I'm not one of those people who was always really upset that there was no way to change back to Vanilla Isaac. Personally, I found that Wrath of the Lamb almost unequivocally made the game better. But, it could be interesting for a couple runs to just kind of have a throwback and have no Wrath of the Lamb items, no Wrath of the Lamb floors, and see what happens. Similarly, what would also be really interesting, because I know I'm one of many people who have thought about this. We don't really want Tammy's head, unfortunately. I know I'm one of many people who have thought about this, but how Wrath of the Lamb would scale with nothing but the base Isaac upgrades. Because obviously, for those who aren't familiar with which items came in Wrath of the Lamb and which were there already, Wrath of the Lamb added several new flying items, a few new damage items. Just all around, it gave a lot of items that are very beneficial. A lot of, and some of my favorite items in the game are Wrath of the Lamb items. So, while we would still be able to find, like, Mom's Knife, Polyphemus stuff, Mom's Knife, Brimstone stuff, things like Polyphemus, like Quad Shot, Stigmata, what else is there that was new? Super Meat Fan, no Spirit of the Night, no Dead Dove, no Holy Grail, or we might as well pick up Mom's Purse so we can have an extra trinket. We just need to go to this blood bank up here and play it a little bit. And let's see what we get in here. But yeah, no Sacred Heart. There were a lot of really, really good items added in Wrath of the Lamb that weren't there in the vanilla version. So it is kind of always a curiosity to me how it would fare playing through the game with nothing but vanilla items but playing through Wrath of the Lamb. And I think that's something I might be interested in trying. So obviously I played myself kind of on the low side here because I want to try to get that blood bag. But I'm not going to risk going much lower than this. Part of that is because I can get another heart in the shop for 2 cents, as well as another heart in, or another part of a heart in, oops, that was silly, in that room a couple back there. Let's go back, let's collect our health. So, we could play the blood bank one more time, which would give us enough cents to buy the red heart, or we could just stick with 2.5. There's really not much functional difference between the two, so I'm not really going to bother going back for that, and I think Pinky Eye is a trinket I want to take with me down. So out of the 3 available, I'm going to stay with that. So let's just go ahead and grab the purse and head down to fight Mom. So we are going to pop Book of Belial right away, obviously. She's going to spawn her foot right in the middle. And we're going to start going to town. This should be an easy fight. We've got very good damage. We've got the poison effect of Pinky Eye kicking in occasionally. And we shouldn't have too many problems with this being Vanilla Mom. Obviously, Red Mom and Blue Mom can be much more difficult. Actually, Red Mom is normally easier. I take that back. I shouldn't have said that both can be much more difficult. But definitely Blue Mom can be much more difficult than regular Mom. And with this, she is dead. We get a speed upgrade. Not all that hyped about that, but it's something. It's something. Take that and down to the next floor. So we're already at 27 minutes and we're just now starting the womb. It's not a very fast run, but it's been a decent run. We are on the womb, not the utero. So we are getting the base level here. But yeah, so that's something that I think might be interesting to try out. And if I do try that, that's definitely going to be a run that's on the channel to see how I fare in that aspect. But other than that, you know, I'm going to be using it for challenge runs probably most of the time going forward. I know that another Isaac Let's Player who is much more familiar with like the coding side of the game, the technical side I guess you could say, Biznap, when I asked him about if he had tried using Spider Mod, he mentioned that it has a couple tweaks to the game that he didn't really want to play with. He wanted just the actual version of the game untweaked, which I fully understand. But at the same time, I really, in the few runs I've done with it, haven't noticed those tweaks. So if they are there, they're relatively unnoticeable throughout the gameplay. So unless we start to notice something major, I think that it will be stuck to that over Cheat Engine for now. Oh yeah, that's the other thing that I could do, is if I wanted to do just a vanilla run, I could give what's called a seed. Essentially, there's a setup in there that mimics the random generation that the game itself does. Not quite the same thing, but it does a pretty good job of mimicking it. But it all works on seeds. So if I were to say start a run with seed, let's just say for the sake of being childish, with seed 69, and I were to tell you to play seed 69, we would be playing the same run. So, you know, if there was a run that I didn't do particularly well at, or if I thought it was an interesting run, I could share a seed with you guys that would allow you to play that same run yourself. And, yeah, I got trapped in the corner. Green bloat is the only bloat that really gives me any kind of problems, and usually not this many. I am not playing as well against him as I normally do. Wasn't really finding his blind spots all that well. So it didn't go like it could have, but we did get a Tears upgrade along with a Two of Hearts, which we're going to pop right away to save this Devil card. It'll be useful for rooms when we don't have the Book of Belial charged up. Let's head down next. So yeah, these are a couple things that you can expect to see on the channel. Some seeded runs that if you guys want to, jump on and play a run that I did, see if you can do better than me, see if you can beat the run quicker, whatever the case may be. Although beating the run quicker is kind of a given if you've watched me play through it, because you would obviously already know where all the item rooms were, where all the boss rooms are, all that stuff. You could have everything mapped out before you even started playing the game. So speed challenges aren't really all that effective, but just in general completion, I think there are some elements that are still randomized. I think like if you, we're just gonna bomb this guy for sake of easiness. I think if you reroll items or play slot machines, that's still random. The drops that you get on a room-to-room basis are still randomized. So you don't necessarily get the same consumables every time. But in terms of the room layout, in terms of the items that initially appear in all the rooms, that is all constant throughout any kind of run where you use the same seed. So it's something interesting, and it's also something that if I were to oh, excuse me. If I were to find someone to race against on Twitch, we could essentially give ourselves the same seed and allow us to literally race the exact same run, so that luck didn't matter quite as much as it normally does, because we would both have the same room layout. Of course, that does allow for kind of course, you do have to be able to trust the person that you're racing against in that respect, because obviously they could just watch the other stream, find out the layout of something that they're not done within a map yet. I apologize, I really need to take a drink after this boss fight. They can find something in the room layout they weren't familiar with, and then be able to kind of jump straight to that instead of exploring to find it. Give me 1 second here. Some shameless product placement of Wild Cherry Pepsi. Yes, Pepsi, if you would like to, you can feel free to give me money for that product placement. I don't mind. I got nothing against you giving me something for that product placement right there, It would be ironic, given my name, if I were drinking Diet Coke on the stream, but I am not a big fan of the taste of diet beverages in general. And I keep myself active enough where I don't really particularly need diet beverages to allow me to drink soda and still keep my ridiculously overly skinny form that I've got going on right now. It sometimes almost scares me that I drink as much pop in general as I do and still kind of keep myself nicely weight-wise. Kind of the luck of having a really good metabolism, I guess, but so we are going on the cathedral. We aren't doing great for health, but we're doing okay. Our pill is Friends Till the End. It'll help us out on the next room. And this room is one where the flies will actually help out a little bit. Oh, okay, there we go. Not to mention the fact that my work is literally right next door to a Burger King, and it's like the only food place within easy walking distance. There's another place that's pretty close, but it's across the street, and it's a really busy street, so it's kind of a pain to get to. There's also, a couple places within driving distance, but, you're on break. You don't want to waste your time driving to get food. You just want to get food and eat. You only have 30 minutes. So you go right next door to Burger King, and you do that every day you work, every time you have a break. And not only do you start to get really, really tired of Burger King and start to realize that their food is not that great, but you also start to, might as well pop this again since it's charged. We're probably going to die on this fight. I'm going to pop the devil card too. We're going all out for this because we only have 2 health left. Unfortunately, I didn't have a run that was very good at taking out Blue Baby. Pinky Eye might have actually been a net negative there, because obviously it's causing Isaac to fire more. But we are getting to the second phase. If we can avoid some shots and get to the third phase, maybe we have a chance. I don't even know how that hit me. I'm really not sure. Because that looked like it was over top of my head about to crash into a wall, and then suddenly it was on me. Anyway, this has been a fun run. We will quit with the anecdote about Burger King being right next door to work and how annoying that is. Although convenient, very annoying. But we will quit with that and end the episode here. Thank you all for watching. I think the face cam worked out decently well. I'm not sure if it really added any entertainment value to the video. That's something that's entirely up to you guys who are watching. But at least it did kind of give us a chance here to see how it works. And I think it is something that I'm going to try to keep up with a bit. So yeah, thank you all for watching. As always, any kind of support in the way of likes, comments, subscriptions is much appreciated. But not necessary. As long as you enjoy the video, that's what matters to me. Because, quite frankly, I do this because I enjoy it. If you enjoy it too, that's double the win. So, with that, have a good night, everyone. Or good day, or whatever it may be when you are watching this video. And I will see you on the next episode of whatever I post next. I will add real quick at the end here, sorry. I know I just said goodbye, but I do want to say that I know that Rogue Legacy has been a very prominent thing on the channel. As I'm recording to this episode, the Rogue Legacy playthrough is coming to an end. It is about 4 or 5 episodes off from the final episode I have recorded, which includes one kind of post-mortem episode. You might have seen all of this by now. I might have this video up before then. The timing is kind of like, woo. But anyway, Isaac, I do want to make sure I get a decent amount of videos pre-recorded to keep that coming up more consistently than I have lately. But there's also, if I recall correctly, the Delver's Drop Alpha that was pushed back 2 weeks from the start of the Greenlight Super Show is due to come out for Kickstarter backers tomorrow. Since I did back and got an alpha copy of that game, I do plan on covering it quite extensively throughout development, the alpha and onwards. It's the kind of game where I feel like my usual strategy of having in development games kind of covered by updates, I feel like I can cover this one a bit more extensively than that. Maybe not to the point of an episode every day for an extended period of time, but updates are going to be coming kind of few and far between, and I do want to kind of keep it as a mainstay on the channel as I kind of search through for bugs and play through for entertainment. So Isaac will keep going up, but you're also going to be seeing that coming up possibly as soon as the day after I record this / sometime in the past for you. But Isaac, I just want to say, since I know that kind of my channel was based on Isaac to begin with, will continue coming up. Will continue to be constantly updated. We are going to get back to the Platinum God save to try to get that back as soon as possible. Probably as of the next run that I record, unless I decide to mess with Spider Mod in the next run. But yeah, this has been a really long talk about things that I'm not entirely sure about, other than, hey, Isaac is going to stick around. There may be other games to come and go. Isaac is probably going to stick around through an very extended portion of this channel, especially considering Rebirth is coming out later this year, and not only am I going to be featuring that just as extensively as regular Isaac, but I also really want to keep myself in shape, so to speak, for when Rebirth releases so that I can show you guys some good gameplay and not die on Isaac like I did right here. Anyway, yep. Again, thank you all for coming out. Have a good one, guys. And I'll see you later. I don't know why I just did that, but I did. Oh well.